To solve by factoring, we need to have 0 on one side of the equal sign and our polynomial in standard form on the other. In this problem, we don't have 0 over here on the right, so I'm going to subtract a 5x from both sides. And then I'll have 0 on the right side, and I can rearrange these terms that we have over here, the 4 terms that we have, so they're in standard form. Now that we have 0 on one side of the equal sign, our equation in standard form, I want to go through and do some factoring. First, I see over on the left side we have a common factor of 5, so I'm going to factor a 5 out in front of all 4 of these terms. That would give me an x cubed minus 3x squared minus x plus 3 equals 0. And then from there I want to go through and, since we have 4 terms in our parentheses, do factoring by grouping. These first 2 terms here have an x squared in common. The last 2 terms don't have anything in common. If there's nothing in common, even though we usually don't factor out a 1, with factoring by grouping we want to factor something out even if it is a 1. So there's nothing in common. I'm going to factor out either a positive or a negative 1. This first term in the last group does have a negative, a subtraction in front of it, so I'm going to factor a negative 1 out in front of those 2 terms. I did end up with matching parentheses, so it does factor. One of the factors is the x minus 3, and then the other is what we factored out in front of those 2 terms, which is an x squared minus 1. So our parentheses here factor as an x minus 3 times an x squared minus 1. We still have this 5 out in front, so if I copy down all of our factors up to this point and put our equals 0 on the end, we have our common factor of 5 and then these 2 factors. If I look to see if this can factor any more, it can. We have an x squared minus 1 here. That is a difference of squares pattern. X squared is a perfect square, and so is 1. We have subtraction in between. X times x gives us x squared. 1 times 1 gives us 1, and then we need alternating signs. So if you factor the left side completely, we end up with these 4 factors. All of those 4 factors are being multiplied together and equals 0, so using the 0 product property, we can make 4 equations and then go through and solve to find our solutions. The first equation is just 5 equals 0. There's no variables here at all, so this doesn't give us any solutions at all. If you have an equation that doesn't have any variables, then you wouldn't even really need to write that down. You could just write down the other 3, but this doesn't give us any solutions. We can't get x equals a solution because there's no variable. The other 3 equations, though, do have variables, so we're going to be able to get solutions for those. So there are 3 solutions. One of them is 3, one of them is -1, one of them is 1. Those could be listed out in any order.